Today, I'm going to talk about my digital painting process. This is an artwork I've done months after joining a Patreon of an artist, and I'm going to explain the process because this is one of the artwork that I'm really proud of, and I want to share how I did this and how I implemented some of the art style characteristics of the artist I'm inspired of for this artwork, which I'm going to talk about later. Okay, I started with a sketch in my sketchbook to practice the stylized face because at that time I'm still new to facial feature stylization. I focused more on making a realistic portrait or a likely realistic portrait before, because just like what some artists said, before you break the rules you have to know what the rules are, and I kind of followed it. I took a picture of the sketch and used it as a tracing guide on digital, but before tracing or working on the main canvas, I did some studies of the reference that will be used and drew like a realistic portrait and taking notes, searching for the colors, understanding the face planes, breaking down the hair shapes and flow, and understanding where the light came from and where to put shadows. Here in the artwork, I made a clean line and had some intentional and unintentional shadow shapes. It's not really 100% clean lines, but because at the end of this artwork, I don't leave the sketch lines. During the process of painting, I changed the color of the lines. Some of them raised and some of them I just leave it. And I'm going to explain a bit more on that later again. I joined a Patreon of an artist before, and this month I joined again. And whose artist is that? It's Louis. Yes, it's Louis, one of the pro artists, famous in Instagram because she has 2.5 million followers, and the artist's artwork made me amazed. I joined Louis Patreon 2022, and months before she announced the new tier in her Patreon. I've become a fan of Louis after a year of getting back to drawing and having Instagram art account. I like how she rendered her artwork using lasso tool, the flowy gestures, and the shape she used in her artwork. That's why I followed and decided to join her Patreon once to learn, and after that decided to look at her artwork on her Instagram profile as a way to study and see the consistent characteristics or patterns in her artworks. I tried my best to apply what I learned so far and what I observed from studying her artwork. The portrait that you saw here as a reference, which is from Pinterest, is one of the portraits I really wanted to paint in quite a long time. I feel like I have to only paint this portrait if I get better in my skills. I don't know why I thought of that. Maybe I'm just afraid to fail before, or just a perfectionist. Back to the process, this layering system or process painting system is also the same as Louis, and I implemented in my process as I was confused and still figuring out what process I like at that time, and will improve the process time and feels easy to focus on painting rather than layering. I'm using a selection tool or magic wand tool to select a specific shape and put the fill with base color because I don't want to take a lot of time in the stage. I use the selection tool, then I go to the select menu, then modify, and then select the expand. The level of expansion of selection is 5 to 10, or you can also choose a different number. Then I use the bucket tool to fill colors inside the selected area. That's why I don't use brush to put base colors. Now I'm making another layer for shadows of the face and the overall shadows that you see on the portrait reference. This is still rough, putting out shadows and letting in colors. And I also changed the color of the line art, and this is one of the techniques I learned from Louis. I changed the color into what I like and what I feel on the artwork using the hue and saturation adjustments. Then I multiply the line art layer, but I also make sure that I duplicate the line art or sketch layer before merging the colors into one layer just in case I messed up something. Then, in render stage, rendering the face using the brushes and lasso tool to create shapes and different variation of colors without blending or smudging. Also making sure that I don't overcolor or overpaint that might change the level of values. Most of the time when I paint, I don't usually use soft round brush. I use a brush with hard edges because that's what I also saw on Louis artwork. There's a lot of hard edges shape or angular shapes, but the color variation or the several different colors of the part of an artwork make it look soft from afar, but when you look closer, there's a lot of different shapes of color and some of them overlap and has several difference of color and transitions or gradients. Here, I think I use saffron brush on the blush or use a selection tool and adjust the feather number, render the forehead using brush and selection tool, still rendering the face, putting some shadows in areas where I needed to have, observing the reference to decide what shapes I can put to the face or other part of the subject, and will also create a 3D illusion to the artwork or the subject. Putting different shapes and adding some color to it is also simplifying the colors I see on the reference. In this artwork, I think I had a lot of problems rendering the hair and the blue head, especially the hair, because sometimes there's a lot of strands going on. Sometimes I'm having confusion of the different shapes of the hair, and on the head, there are some shadows that I painted too much darker value compared to what's on the reference. Some edges that doesn't have to be hard edges and that create a bit too much contrast to the different variation of color blue. I don't know why, but I used textured brush early in this painting. When I almost done the rendering part, I used textured brush in some areas of the painting to finish some parts and move on to other parts of the painting. But I paint using that brush early and still keep render the other parts of the artwork. Even though personally, textured brushes is for a last painting, brush strokes I can put if I wanted to because it's like an optional for me and sometimes not a big deal if the artwork has it or not. But there are times that it was important, just like this artwork. I used textured brush and polish some parts that haven't changed or fixed. However, the reason I put it last is sometimes I didn't realize I erased some parts of those brush strokes that I intend to put in the artwork by adding new colors or by adding different brushes or brush strokes. Next to render is putting lighting to the subject. The last part that I paint is the lighted part of the portrait, adding some rim light, some glow, and highlights using the blending modes, using shapes and sculpting painting technique, which I learned from some YouTube tutorial videos on Louis artworks to simplify the rim light and highlight. Then I use saffron brush or airbrush to put some subtle glow in some parts. Okay, in summary, I sketched traditionally practicing the face stylization, studied the portrait, taking a picture of the sketch, using that photo to trace and make rough sketch, then on top making clean sketch, deciding the color of the background, putting base colors, colors for rough shadows and lights, changing the color of the clean line art, then combining the colors and the sketch, then rendering the portrait by using the colors from the canvas, then making clarity to the focus and other parts of the portrait, cleaning the rough painted part, making clear to the different forms, and adjusting proportions and facial features and other elements. Lastly is the using of blending modes for the lighted parts and using adjustments for the overall artwork. And it's done. I forgot to tell you, but I actually used saffron brush or airbrush on the arm and some parts of the hair in this painting. that's it. And hopefully you like the music here, this music. I like this music, and I'm going to keep quiet now, leave you now. I'm not gonna leave you now, and my video will still play. I just want you to enjoy this part until the end, so make sure you stay tuned and watch the process of this artwork. Learn from the process if you want to, listen to the music if you want to, and hope you guys like it if you want to, and hope this video will help you to organize your painting process, especially to the beginner artists out there. And yeah, we'll see you next time.